Hello everyone, Steve Gage here, NASM certified personal trainer and co-owner of Engage Fitness DC. Today we're going to go over abdominals, those muscles that are in the middle and on the side, and the function of the abdominals are to stabilize the spine. As we move, the abs activate and keep that spine aligned and prevent it from over twisting and turning. It's going to have a little move. We want to make sure that there's not an excess of movement, because then we get to that spinal injuries and those pains that we want to actively avoid. So those abdominals are responsible for rotation, side to side, a little adduction, abduction, a little side action there, and then back and forth, extension and flexion. Again, movement and bracing of the spine, all focusing on that spine, keeping it healthy and safe. So we're going to go over a couple of movements, hitting all those areas. We're going to focus on form is number one, and safety, making sure there's no pain we're feeling during these movements. I'm going to show you how to really activate those abdominals. We're just going to use body weight. You can add weights if you're needing that little extra intensity, but we're going to do generic, basic body weight ab exercises. We're going to start with the body crunch. This is going to target all the abdominals at the same time because you're using the entire range. So we're starting in a flat position, feet are on the floor to start. Again, this is brand new to you. Start with this position, flat on the back, and we're going to bring the knees to the chest, and you're going to hover the hands a few inches above the floor, and you're going to drive the rib cage down, getting those hands past the feet as they come to the chest. So our knees come in, scoot those hands past, and then come back down just before the feet hit the floor, and making sure there's no low back pain. So we do that by taking the hips, tilting them up towards the ceiling. You'll feel that low back become flush with the floor. That's going to prevent that low back arch and that pain we sometimes get with that overarch. So we're bringing the knees to the chest, hands are scooting, and then we're back to the floor. Really feeling that squeeze in the middle. You're trying to get as small as possible, roll into a little ball in the middle. Really feel that ab squeeze in the middle, and come back down just before the feet hit the floor. So we're doing 15 to 20 of these. We want to hit the higher repetitions because the abs are active for so long throughout the day. We want to be able to tax them in those higher rep ranges. Because if we do 4 to 5, it's not really taxing the full capacity of those abdominals, because again, they're being continually worked throughout the day. So we want to really hit the high intensity on those reps. Really feeling that squeeze, pausing just for a second, and then coming back down. And if for any reason you're not sure you're feeling it, just hold the top of that position and feel where you're feeling that muscle activation. You're feeling it in your legs or your shoulders more. Bring in down that rib cage towards the stomach more, and you'll feel those abs turn right on in the middle. And as you come out, you'll feel those low abs turn on, keeping the legs right above the floor. So if you've done that 15 to 20, 3 sets, and you're still not feeling a lot of activation, you can add a little more intensity by just changing the shape of your legs. So as you increase the angle of the legs, that puts more load on the low abs. So same position, bringing the legs to the chest, and then lowering the legs just to the floor, right above, and then right back to the middle. And you can also add a little more arm activation in this as well. You can get the arms overhead, getting that full stretch. You feel a little in the lats and a little in the core. And we're keeping that slightly bent leg shape, and then scooting those legs past the knees, past the legs, and then back out. Feeling that nice stretch. And you're inhaling on the way out, exhaling on the way down. And try to breathe out through your mouth, because that also, breathing out through the mouth, if you put your hand on your stomach and you breathe out through your mouth, you'll feel those abdominals turn on. So you're getting that extra activation as you come into the middle for that shape. And again, we're working on that 15 to 20 rep range. And we're moving the whole leg, not just the knees. We're keeping the legs in that semi-bend shape coming from the hip. The whole leg comes down, straight to the middle. Again, for that 15 to 20 rep range, taking that shape that feels most effective for you. So next we're going to work on holding position. So we're going to really work on that abdominal activation in a hold position. So we'll start with step one. So hands are over the head just like we did before. Knees are on, legs are on the floor flat. And we're going to raise the chest and legs off the floor. And we're going to start with just a 10-second hold. So you're going to come up, rib cage comes up, legs come up. You're going to hold that position and keep breathing. Don't try to just hold it the whole time. Then you're going to lose energy in your breath really quick. So in through the nose. And if you need a little more, just try to get that chest up off the floor just a little more. Feeling those abs, hold the spine in place and then relax. So if you started with this position and you're not really feeling that much of tension, you can extend the time to maybe 20 or 30 seconds. And once you've gotten to 3 to 4 sets of that 30-second hold and you feel the need to progress, you can just add that load again by stretching out the legs a little more. Because again, the longer you get, the more, especially with the legs, the more load is going to put on those low abs as we hold. So our arms are up overhead. Now our legs are straight, again, tilting those hips up towards the floor, feeling that low back against the floor to start. And we're just going to lift those legs up, point those toes straight out, and lift that rib cage up. And relax. And you can change the stress of that position in between those shapes. So in between the knees bent and the legs completely out, you can kind of have like a halfway point if you want. Just kind of work that position to where you really feel that ab activation for those 20 seconds. For those 20 seconds, you should be feeling every second in the abdominals as you're holding that position. Again, tilting the hips up, low back flat to start, arms overhead, and just going to raise, try to get that curved shape of the body. Holding that position. And relax. Woo! And again, you can change the time. I would suggest start with 10 seconds, see where you're feeling that activation. You should feel it right away as soon as the chest comes up and those legs come up. You'll feel that ab activation, holding that position in shape. And then relax. And then build to 20, then maybe to 30 seconds. Try 3 times, about 30 seconds in between, giving it just a little bit of rest. So next we're going to target the lower abs. Again, this is one of those shapes. There's so many different variations. I'm going to show you just a couple. So again, always starting with the hips tilting up, getting that low back flat. Because again, we don't want to overarch that low back. Then we get that naughty, kinky feeling we're trying to avoid. So hips are up, starting with the knees over the hips. Toes are pointed towards the shin. And just lowering those legs just before they hit the floor, because we want to keep constant tension on the lower abs the whole time. Because once feet hit the floor, all the stress is off the abs and there's no tension there. So we're just raising those knees to the chest. Breathe out on the way in through the nose on the way down. And again, we're shooting for that 15 to 20 rep range. Again, higher reps is where we want to really hit the abs because they're working all day. We want to really challenge them with those higher reps. And again, if you need to add a little more resistance, just simply straighten the legs out a little more. And as you straighten, get those toes pointed out. And you want to come down just before you feel that low back come up off the floor. That's your range of motion in that shape. You want to keep that low back as if it's glued to the floor. That's going to prevent, again, that low back pain. And again, you can add or take away tension by simply straightening out the legs or bending them. But we want to get those knees all the way as close to the chest as we can. The butt will come up off the floor a little bit. That's totally fine as long as it comes back down and that low back stays flat at the bottom of that position. Next, we're going to target the obliques, those muscles on the side. They're responsible for stabilizing the spine when we're rotating side to side and sideways and sideways. So with this position, we're on the side. Knees are in line with the hips and shoulders. And that elbow is on the floor in line with that shoulder. That's going to help distribute the weight and making sure it's under the shoulder. Because if it's too far out or too far in, it puts a lot of strain on that shoulder joint. So if it's aligned, it's distributing the weight in the shoulder joint and the elbow. And the palm is flat on the floor. And you're going to drive the bottom knee into the floor, hiking those hips up. Feeling that turn on right on the side, holding for just a second, and then right back down. And I like to keep my hand on my hip, that way it helps me notice if I'm rolling side to side, because we want to just go up and down, not backwards or forwards, because that's where we're using those obliques to keep that spine stable as we move up and down. And again, 15 to 20 of those doing both sides. Again, want to be as even as possible, so both sides, 15 to 20 reps. And if you need a little more resistance in that shape, you've done your 3 sets of 15 to 20, and you didn't really feel that ab activation, you can add a little more strain on the abs by getting the feet straight out, because now you have a higher distance to go as opposed to using just the knees. And if you have sensitive ankle joints or just sensitive feet, you can place a pillow underneath the ankles so you get a little bit of extra support. Position is exactly the same, elbow underneath the shoulder, hand is flat, hand on the hip. Legs are completely straight, everything's aligned, and you're hiking those hips up, holding for just a second, and then back down. You can even add some holds at the top of this position for 5-10 seconds if you want. And just holding that shape, you'll feel those obliques on the side turn on, and hold that shape, and then come right back down. And then lastly, I'm going to target those obliques one more time. We're going to get into a plank, starting with the elbows. Again, elbow is underneath the shoulder, on the toes, or the knees if it serves you at this point. And we're going to roll the hips side to side, feeling those obliques turn on as we come up and down. So just roll those hips, get the side of the hip down towards the floor, come back to the middle for just a second pause, and then back down to the floor. And we're doing 15 to 20 each side. And with this shape, you also have the ability to change the tension. If you need a little more tension in those obliques, get the butt up in line with the spine, on the toes, and then roll those hips down to the floor. Just a slight touch, and then come back up to the middle, and then back down to the floor. Again, if you've done your 3 sets of 15 to 20 each side, and you feel like you need just a little more, you can change up the position and get into a straight arm position. Now you may not get all the way down to the floor, but that little extra movement on the way down is going to really help activate those obliques. So keeping the hand under the shoulder and distributing that weight throughout the arm, on the toes, squeezing the butt, keeping that spine neutral, and you're rolling those hips, allowing the top foot to come over onto the other, and then reverse. And you will get a slight bend in the body. We're going to get those hips down to the floor as close as we can. Because you're using the obliques on the way down, and then the opposite side, you're using to pull the hips back up into that neutral position. So again, try a couple of these out, see which ones get more bang for your buck. Find maybe some weaker areas you can hone in on and strengthen up. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you next time. Be safe, be kind, and choose to be well. Take care.